All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who teach and rule well. And salutations to the Yakim out there laboring of the hopeful elect that's doing this work in truth and sincerity. And now that Tucker Carlson has pretty much been ousted from Fox News, you know, he's been doing his own thing. And pretty much, you know, his content has been, very riveting and honest. And this right here is a very sobering look at the state of Babylon. In this particular interview here, okay, I'm gonna play snippets of it, but Tucker Carlson is having a interview with Colonel Douglas McGregor, which is a retired, colonel from the military, and he's speaking about the truth about the Ukraine war and what's really going on. And it's a very sobering, look at what Babylon is pretty much stacked up against and what we're about to face, you know. And this is all through the spirit and power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. You know, this man is pretty much talking about He's off the rails, man. Okay? And he's on a path to basically self-destruct. Okay? You know, the scriptures talk about you live by the sword, you die by the sword. You know? And his counsel is pretty much being of a situation where he cannot get out of. Now, I just want to play pretty much maybe a few minutes of this clip here, because I want to drive home the point of the state of Babylon. All right, so without any further ado.
The New York Times have told you about the war in Ukraine is a lie. The Russian army is incompetent, they claim. Ukraine is a democracy. Vladimir Putin is Hitler and he's trying to take over the world. Thankfully, the Ukrainians are winning. None of that is true. Every claim is false, the last one especially. The Ukrainian army is not winning. In fact, it's losing badly. Ukraine is being destroyed. Its population is being slaughtered in lopsided battles with a technologically superior enemy, or scattered by the millions to the rest of the globe as refugees. Ukraine is running out of soldiers. As that happens, the question will inevitably arise, who's going to replace them? If the Ukrainians can't beat Putin, who will? The answer, of course, will be us. American troops will fight the Russian army in Eastern Europe. That's most likely. And the assumption is we'll win. But will we win? Probably not, says former Army Colonel Douglas McGregor, a decorated combat veteran who advised the Secretary of Defense in the last administration. The U.S., says McGregor, is on the brink of a catastrophic war that could very easily destroy us. Few Americans seem to understand that, but they should. Doug McGregor is now the CEO of Our Country, Our Choice, and we sat down with him recently. This conversation is worth hearing. Doug McGregor, thanks for joining us. How would you assess and describe the state of the war in Ukraine right now?
That's an important question, and not enough people have good answers at this point. I think all of the lies that have been told for more than a year and a half about the Ukrainians are winning, the Ukrainian cause is just, the Russians are evil, the Russians are incompetent, all of that is collapsing. And it's collapsing because what's happening on the battlefield is horrific. The Ukrainians now, we think, have lost 400,000 men killed in battle. We were talking about 350,000 a few months ago. Within the last month of this supposed counteroffensive, which was to sweep the battlefield, they lost at least 40,000 killed. We don't even know how many people have been wounded, but we know that probably upwards of 40 to 50,000 soldiers are amputees. We know the hospitals are full. And we know that Ukrainian units at the platoon and company level, that's with anywhere from 50 to 150 to 200 men, are in piecemeal fashion surrendering to the Russians. Not because they don't want to fight, it's because they can't fight anymore. They have so many wounded, they can't evacuate them. And commanders are saying, well, if I can't evacuate my wounded, I'm going to surrender because otherwise the wounded will die. And so they call the Russians, and they all speak Russian, and tell them on the radio, look, I've got 50, 60 wounded here. I'm going to surrender because I don't want them to be killed. And the Russians from the very beginning have always treated the Ukrainian soldiers very fairly and very gently. And so they know they're not going to be abused or mistreated. They know they can actually be exchanged for Russian prisoners in the future. So they've surrendered. And I think we're going to see this army that we've been spending so heavily on increasingly melt away. And at the same time as we're talking, if you look at this long banana-shaped strip of territory in southern Ukraine that the Russians control, if you go to the northeastern corner of that, south of this city called Kharkiv, there are major offensive operations taking place there right now. And the Ukrainian forces are being swept away in front of the Russians. And again, all of this happens in a way that is just not reported in the West. And in the meantime, rather than admit that this is a terrible tragedy that should be ended on humanitarian grounds, if no other, that the killing should stop, as President Trump said, stop the killing, we're going to continue. And this puts the Russians in the unhappy position of marching further west, because from the very beginning, Putin and his advisors were never interested in a war with NATO or the United States. That's why you've had such incrementalism, this slow grind of movement forward, defensive operations for a long period to build up the force, and then continued offensive operations. They have over 300,000 combat troops in reserve in Russia. And I think they're sitting there and not being released to fight because President Putin anticipates the possibility that we will intervene in Western Ukraine. And if we intervene in Western Ukraine, the Russians will be ready for that. And the consequences for us and for NATO will be devastating because we are not ready to fight the Russians.
Why?
Oh, I think the readiness has been on the decline for a long time. You've had an almost steady, uninterrupted decline in the discipline that makes soldiers fight. Discipline is a tough thing. We don't always understand it. Discipline is really a form of habit. And you build those habits over time through repetition, but you also build it under stress, under pressure.
Right, and that's pretty much how you make a man, okay? But in this society, people are easily offended, and are being appeased and pacified because of them being in their feelings. You see, okay, the men that was pretty much built up in the days of old are nowhere compared to the men that are built today, man. We got to remember that women are pretty much heads of the households. When you even want to talk about even Jake households, but even when you want to sit here and talk about these other nations, the Edomite households, man. Okay, the women are pretty much are running the household, man. Because why? It's because the fathers are pretty much out working, long shifts, and to provide for the family, and usually the wife, the mother of the children is usually the homemaker. Okay, so they're pretty much being raised by women, man. This society of men are not really men, you see. Okay, and he's getting into them not being ready to fight against the Russians, man. Okay, that discipline that basically harden a person, for a person to be tough-skinned, to have integrity, you see, to carry himself in a manly fashion. You see, this place has lost its way in that, man. We're going to continue.
So that it sinks in. And then you build cohesion within the framework of those units. You don't build cohesion when you're dividing the force on racial grounds, when you're pushing people who are clearly unqualified up the ranks to command, when you're rewarding.
Another point that he's making. Okay, this everything right now. The narrative is everything is built with race. Okay, everything is with race, man. Okay, you see, and now they want to probably implement a draft. Well, Jake's strength right now will be to sit still and not do anything. Okay, because Jake is not really getting any justice here in the shores of Babylon. Okay, so now this man wants to turn around and have you fight for him. You see, and this is always has been the sentiment throughout all the wars concerning Jake. All right, even when you go back to the movie Glory, okay, um, back then when there was surrounded around the Civil War, and the pretty much the soldiers did not want to have any parts of the Negro regime regiments. You see, okay, and you pretty much are fighting on the same side, but they didn't want no parts of you. Even in Vietnam, man, Vietnam was a war that was pretty much racially divided, man. Okay, but they were pretty much still fighting on the same side. Okay, Jake always made the difference in all of these battles, man. With these wars, man. Okay, when you want to talk about the Vietnam War, you want to talk about the Korean War, you want to talk about Desert Storm. Jake was always been a factor because why? It's because you have a large portion of Jake and disadvantaged minorities that are in the military, man. You see? All right, but now this go around is going to be a little different, okay? For the simple fact that, all right, this is not a time to where people could just go in the army and make a career out of it, do your 20 years and then split, and then get all the benefits. Right now, we're in a time of war. So pretty much, anybody that's joining the military, you're pretty much are going to be deployed and getting yourself ready for combat, okay? It's not no easy cake and walk in the park now how it used to be, where you would just go into the military, go do basic training and pretty much get stationed somewhere in San Diego, California, go somewhere maybe to Korea, okay? I had an uncle that pretty much went to Korea, okay, and had a lot of downtime. And pretty much, he pretty much laid with the women there, man. You see? But now there's a time where you're actually going to be going to battle, man. It's not going to be no time for downtime. Your co-workers that were military and stationed in Germany, and dealing with the women of the other nations and all that and all this nonsense, man. Those times are coming to an end, man. Okay? They're going to whisk you through basic training. Okay, all right, and they're gonna give you a modified M16 in your hand and tell you to get out there, man. You see? Okay, so right now is a time of war, man. All right, and Yahweh Bashim Abushai is mustering the battle, man. You see? Let's continue.
Rewarding people for anything other than demonstrated character, competence, and intelligence. All of those things are demoralizing, destructive to military establishments. The Army and the Marines are suffering with it, so is the Air Force and the Navy. And there's no easy fix. And these cracks, they're just cracks at the moment, will become giant fissures if you go to war.
So you spent the bulk of your adult life as an Army officer, went to West Point, commanded troops in battle. You're a combat veteran, decorated. But you entered the Army right at the tail end of Vietnam.
That's right.
When it was famously at its nadir.
Yes.
How would you compare the readiness of the current U.S. Armed Forces to, say, 1975 at the end of Vietnam?
I think that in terms of morale and discipline, we are close to where we were in the late 70s. We have a lot of people that are confused about what needs to be done. We've lost a sense of what's right. In other words, you don't have people that have served long enough in formations to know what right looks like, so that you can see a battle group, whether it's a battalion size or brigade or larger, and you know what makes things work. You know what it takes to fight in battle. We don't have very many people like that because since 2001, most of the fighting has been on a very small scale against a fleeting enemy. Running around in sandals with an AK-47, relying heavily on explosives, mines, to kill and maim Americans. About 87% of our losses were really a result of explosives that came from mines. This is not an army that is accustomed to fighting anybody who can fight back. If I were going to compare it to an army, a better comparison would probably be the French army before the Franco-Prussian War, because the French had fought Mexican bandits, Mexican rebels. They'd fought Arab bandits, Arab insurgents. They'd had a little experience fighting disgruntled, demoralized European troops, Austrians in northern Italy, but they hadn't faced a truly modern enemy. But people were convinced that the French army was the greatest army in the world because they'd fought in North Africa, in Indochina, Mexico, all over the world. That war was a catastrophe for France, and that army was decimated in months by a Prussian army that was a modern force, highly disciplined, very competently led, trained, and equipped. So we're not there. We have equipment that is decades old. The tanks that I served on, for instance, when I went to war in 1990, were virtually brand new, state of the art. Those tanks are still out there. They've been rebuilt, but they're not new anymore. They're no longer as capable as they once were. I'll give you a quick example. We have a turbine engine in the M1, A1 series tanks, and that turbine engine burns up as much fuel sitting still as it does moving. Because it's a turbine engine, it was designed to be used on an aircraft. We put them into tanks. So that means you've got an 8-hour tank. Every 8 hours, if you're operating, you've got to refuel this thing. This thing also burns fuel at a very, very high temperature, over 1,000 degrees. And there are 40 plus connections around the engine that are very brittle, that can easily cause fires if accidentally they touch these little tubes that carry various types of fluid, if they actually touch this engine that's burning so hot. So the engine is so hot that you can track the movement of U.S. Army ground forces with tanks from low Earth orbiting satellites. So if you think you're going to hide or conceal yourself or outpace somebody, you're just a glowing target from space. To this must be added the ridiculousness of not having replaced that engine with a reliable, state-of-the-art diesel-electric engine, which is much cooler, which can go for 24 hours or more without a refuel. And these things are extremely problematic when you go to war, because you have to pull forces back, refuel them, return them to the front. That's not easy to do when you're operating as frequently as every 8 or 6 or 9 hours. They say, well, we put it on, I guess, a generator on there to make up for this when you're sitting still. The problem is that you don't sit still for very long in combat, because if you do, you're going to be targeted and destroyed. And that, of course, is what we're seeing in Ukraine. Persistent surveillance from space, from overhead surveillance, makes everything visible all the time. So if you're going to embed yourself in the ground, if you're going to set up a permanent position there where you try to fire from that, you're going to be targeted and destroyed very, very quickly.
And see, and
so that's
the whole thing now with the weapons now, the weaponry, man, because we haven't fought real combat, man, in such a long time. You see, the only combat that we fought when we were talking about Desert Storm, what she mentioned, you were fighting fleeing insurgents, basically fleeing. And basically with AK-47s and sandals, man. You see, okay, and a lot of the opposition, okay, was mines, landmines. Okay, that was really the only opposition that our military has faced, and we have not really faced somebody that can really fight back. Okay, now we're talking about just with Russia now, and don't forget the other enemies, okay, that this country has, okay, with China. This place has a bone to pick with China, this place has a bone to pick with Iran, you see, okay, and we already know the prophecies, okay, concerning pursuant to Ezekiel the 38th chapter, Russia is going to be a guard unto all of them, but all of those bands are going to be banded together, man, to come against Babylon, man, you see, all right, but real quick, let's pull the scripture and get back to a little bit of this interview, okay? Let's go to this is Daniel chapter 2 verse 40. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for so much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, it shall break in pieces and bruise. And really, this was speaking about the Roman Empire. When the Roman Empire came in, it was a strong force to be reckoned with. Okay, it devoured everything that was in its sight. You see, all right. That's pretty much talking about the fourth kingdom that Daniel was speaking about. And it says, whereas thou sawest the feet and the toes, part of potter's clay, and part iron. The kingdom shall be divided. And this is speaking about right here in America. This is the second leg of Rome. Okay, this is speaking about America. All right, where it says that it was the toes. Now we're down to the toes now, where it was part potter's clay and part iron. Okay, and the kingdom shall be divided. And this kingdom is pretty much divided on every single thing. Okay, all right. Even when you want to speak about the EU and NATO, okay, all right, they're divided. Okay, because each concerning this Ukraine war, okay, a certain personal interests are not being satisfied or met. You know, okay. When you want to speak about the things that Europe, the countries in Europe would need, okay, relying on energy resources, okay. You know that Nord Stream pipeline was pretty much destroyed. All right, so now they have to have other means of getting this energy. You see, all right. But you know, and is the word out there who was behind that? You see, okay, and pretty much the world knows this. You see, but it was to the advantage of who, of whom it caused that to happen with. You see, all right. But now you see in the division within here on the soils of Babylon, man. Okay, everything is divided by race. You see. And the scriptures talk about, man, everybody's going to pretty much turn to their own people, man. You know? So what kind of morale could you really have? Okay? All right? And to stand shoulder to shoulder. You see? Fighting in combat. You see? This place is divided on every single level, man. Okay? All right? And it's just, and it goes far beyond race. Okay? You got the battle of the sexes. Okay? You know, this is a big thing here in Babylon. Okay? You know, and you got the social media that perpetuates these standard of acceptance. You see, has been the new standard of acceptance. You know, everybody pretty much wants to you know, be you know, catered to. Everybody wants to be pampered and you know, pretty much in just soothe and because of their feelings. You see, everybody wants to stand on their soapbox, so to speak. Okay, you got the LMNOP. You know, you got them. You got pretty much anybody that's within that rainbow circle. You know, okay. Everybody has a voice that they want to get out. You see, and this pretty much the sentiment is being pushed out throughout the four corners of the earth. Okay, you know, this is the fornication. That wine that this place has been given out to these other nations, man. Okay, and the scriptures speak about that these nations are mad. You see, but more or less, you know, this place is divided on every level, man. Okay, when you want to talk about ideology, you know, you want to talk about this and you know, everybody wants to, you know, have something to say, so to speak. You know, but it says that the kingdom shall be divided. But there shall be in it of strength of iron, for so much as thou servest the iron mixed with murky clay, you know, and you're seeing they still have the strength, the military might is still there, but what did the colonel say? The colonel said that a lot of the equipment that we have is showing its age, okay, and it's pretty much not been refreshed. It hasn't been advanced. You see, okay, and you can see now how quality is being built when you want to look at these American cars, man. Okay, American cars are not really known to going over pretty much 100,000 miles. Okay, you know, a lot of these American cars that are out here that go over 100,000 miles pretty much becomes a steady money pit. You see, they're not quality made. You see. And now we don't even make anything here anymore. You see? Okay? All of the jobs are being sourced out, man. Okay? All of the things that were built here, okay, when you want to go back to the start of the industrial age and on, okay, was built here in good old USA. Okay? This place doesn't produce anything no more. Okay? This place is just a nation of consumers. And that's it. You see? This is why, you know, the scriptures speak about, in pursuant to Revelation, the 18th chapter, how the nations are pretty much are going to bewail this place, man, because they're not able to sell their goods to this place anymore. You see? Okay? This is a consumer-based society that we're in. You see? We don't make anything here and have anything of quality. You see? Everything has been sourced out. You see? All right? So it says, verse 42, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And this is basically what we see. Okay? This kingdom is partly strong and partly broken, man. Okay? You want to talk about morally? You want to talk about spiritually? You want to talk about just being physically? Okay? All right? It's broken, man. It's broken. You see? Okay? And these nations are pretty much have beat their plowshares into spears, man. You see? And they have been doing it, especially Russia. They have been doing it for a very long time, man. Because they knew that this point in time would come. You see? All right? These nations are pretty much the weakest saying that they're strong now, man. They are pretty much forming together to come against the big bully of the earth, man. You see? That's what they see this place as. They see this place as the big bully of the earth, man. Okay? Because why? It's because if you don't do things the way we say we want it done, okay? All right, we're going to put sanctions on you. You see? Okay? So where you not able to pretty much trade and sell, man. Okay? Buy, trade, and sell. You see? Okay? You see? And this will be passed on to the form of the CHIP, man. Okay? Which is the MOTB. You see? Which is really going to be relegated to the masses of the people, man. The individuals, okay, of the earth. You see? Okay? But this place is partly strong and partly broken. Okay? It says, and whereas thou sowest iron mixed with murky clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, and they shall not cleave to one another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. Because iron, you can't really actually mix iron and clay, you know. It's not going to cleave to one another. But you have the mingled seed that's here, okay? All right, the mingled peoples, okay, here in Babylon, man, are not seeing eye to eye on anything, man. Okay? All right? Everybody has a problem with everybody else, man. Okay? You know? And you tribes are despised amongst all of them, man. You see? So pretty much, man, this place that has heaped unto him all people, okay? These people are pretty much divided, man. And it has been like that for a very long time, and it's pretty much being ramped up in these last days, man. Okay? You know, people are coming to the realization, man, of just being for self, man. Okay? Or just being for their people, man. Okay? You see? Because why? It's because this place does not promote anything that it tries to call itself preaching, man. Okay? You know, the actions that has been perpetuated within the households, individual households, and then carried out throughout the comings and goings here in Babylon have been contrary to what they try to preach, man. Okay? You see? All right? But let's get back to the video. Play a little bit more. So I want to grab a couple more points right quick.
That's why this defense right now looks a lot like World War I, because anybody who moves is identified and killed. The only limitation on your ability to target and destroy the enemy is ammunition. The Russians, of course, have no shortages whatsoever. You recall at the beginning of this, we have all these shortages, right? The Russians can't keep up with missiles. The Russians can't keep up with shells. Well, they have multiple manufacturing facilities operating 7 days a week at 24 hours a day. We have no surge capacity in the United States. It would take us many, many months to come up to that kind of standard where we could actually compete in high-end conventional warfare. And that's why people like me and others worry that if we get into a confrontation, that we cannot win because the world has changed, warfare has changed, integrated air defenses will knock virtually everything that flies out of the sky, that we will then fall back on a nuclear deterrent, a tactical nuclear weapon that says, if you keep advancing, we'll have to use a nuclear weapon. We don't want.
And that's what's going to get to the point too, okay? It's going to get to the point to where this war is going to become nuclear, man. Okay? And we keep talking about that, you know. All right, it's not going to be this whole thing of this this whole on footman combat, man. Okay, you're going to have somebody is going to pretty much feel some kind of way about what's going on here, you know. Hey, the scriptures speak about, man, that Russia pretty much they're going to think an evil thought, man. You see, okay. All right, so we're pretty much zoning in on these times, man. Okay, that's the scriptures are speaking about. All right, real quick, let's go to Matthew's real quick. Okay, okay, because there's no real remedy to this right here, on what the colonel is pretty much speaking about, man. Okay, all right, this place is not even have any ramped up any manufacturing of ammo. Okay, to pretty much go on a continual war. You see, right now, what's being fought in that war is supplies and weaponry that this place has given to the NATO allies, man. Okay, they're pretty much running through their arsenal of weapons that they have given them, man. You see, all right. So this is Matthew, chapter 12. Let's go to 25. All right. And Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. You know, and that's the point, man. You know, with the division that's going on here, this place is not going to stand. Nobody is on the same accord with anything. Okay. All right. This is what this place has been relegated to, man. Okay, everybody's being much thinking on their own, man. Okay, all right. It says, and if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? And we know this is Satan's kingdom right here, you know. And then you have the people that are the wicked 2/3, the wicked other nations. Okay, you see these heathens. Okay, all right. If they can't be on the same accord, okay, even though they serve Satan in the spirit, and even them themselves are divided, okay, you see, they're not even on one accord under the banner of Satan, man. Okay, so they shall not stand; they will not prevail, man. Yo, let's continue.
We don't want to go there because the notion that there are so-called tactical nukes, you've heard that expression?
Yes.
Oh, that's just a little nuke. So that won't precipitate a major war. The use of any nuclear weapon is going to precipitate escalation very rapidly, because your opponents will assume that if they don't use their nuclear weapons, they're going to lose them. So we're living in a terrible dilemma right now. The smartest thing that we can do is end this war.
What is Russia's objective, do you believe? Assuming the objectives change over the course of a war.
Of course. Right? Well, the original objective, obviously, was very different. I mean, if they'd made peace with the Russians back in, let's say, March or April, I think the Russians would have retained very little territory, probably only Luhansk and Donetsk, the two so-called breakaway provinces.
Hey, the Lord said these people will say peace, peace, man, when there is no peace, man. Okay? All right, that line has already been crossed, man, and then right now it's at the point of pretty much no return, man. Okay? Too much blood has been shed at this point already to even anybody to stand down or retreat, man. You see? Okay? This place is pretty much done, man. All right? All right, let's go real quick to let me snag Isaiah real quick. Isaiah chapter 19, verse 14. And Yahweh hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, that they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. You know, and this place is not doing anything right. This place is not even getting itself battle ready. Okay? All right, this place is playing the whoremonger of the earth, but is not, in fact, battle ready, man. Okay? You see? Right? And the perverse spirit that's going on here is pretty much the mindset of the people that they want to draft, man. Okay? These people are of a perverse spirit in mind, man. All right? You see? It says, neither shall there be any work for Egypt, which the head or tail, branch or rush may do. Okay, from top to bottom, man, this place is about to hit a financial devastation as well, man. Okay? And it says, and that day shall Egypt be like unto women, and it shall be afraid and fear because of the shaking of the hand of Yahweh of hosts, which is shaking over it. And the Lord is causing these things to happen to this place, man. Okay, all right. So set aside the war. Okay, the brewing war that's gonna pretty much escalate. Okay, into a world war. You know, this place is pretty much on the brink of civil war, man. Okay, you know that perfect scenario and situational event. Okay, that may happen, that will happen. Okay, we'll have all hell break loose in this place, man. Okay, so not only is not them not the you know, pretty much on the same accord as fighting the enemy. Okay, all right, they're pretty much going to be fighting each other, the Egyptians against the Egyptians, man. Okay, all right, and that's scripture. You see, and it says, and the land of Judah shall be a terror unto Egypt, and every one that maketh mention thereof shall be afraid of himself, because of the counsel of Yahweh of hosts, which he hath determined against it. And the Lord said that he's going to rouse Judah up. Okay? And pretty much, man, this word is a terror unto these people, man. Okay? Why? It's because it is coming to pass, what we're speaking of. Okay? And there's nothing that these people can do, man. Okay? It's like a car burning in flames, going downhill, and you're trying to press the brake and there's no brakes. Okay? And it's about to run off a cliff. You see? Okay? So you can't stop prophecy. Okay? You can't stop the words that Yahweh B'Shem Asai has spoken, man. Okay? All right? It's pretty much etched in stone, man. Okay? And it will come to pass, man. You see? All right? We can probably play a little bit more of the video, but I played a great deal of it, you know, and I'm using that video under the Fair Use Act, okay, and it's only for educational purposes, okay, and pretty much, hey, this is becoming common knowledge, man, you know, okay, you know, this is nothing of any good, man. You see, okay, nothing's good coming out for this place, man. Okay, all right, let's go to pulling out scripture real quick. This is Jeremiah 51. Let's see. Let's go to verse 30. Okay. Isaiah 51 and 30. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holds. Their might hath failed. They became as women. They have burned her dwelling places. Her bars are broken. Okay? And pretty much, man, the glory days of this place is done. You know, the hot shot, Top Gun, you know, where, you know, a lot of times through the 80s, we had a lot of these movies that came out, the 80s and 90s, the glory days of the military movies, and you know, the Great USA comes out on top every time, and you know, the heroes, you know, the toast of the earth, so to speak. You know, we saved the world. You know, pretty much we stopped the world from the evil destruction to come, and those days are done. Those days are gone, man. Okay, those days are pretty much done for, man. You see, it says, one post shall run to meet another, and one messenger shall meet another, to show the king of Babylon that the city is taken at one end, and that the passengers are stopped, and the reeds they have burned with fire, and the men of war are frightened. You see, okay, and they're not, pretty much, these people are not prepared for real battle. Okay, they're not prepared for real test of physical combat, man. You see, okay, all right. You see videos of these how these Russians train, man. They're actually jumping into frozen water, okay, as part of their training. You see? All right? It says, for thus say Yahweh of hosts, the power of Israel, the daughter of Babylon is like a threshing floor. It is time to thresh her. Yet a little while, and the time of our harvest shall come. You know, and it's pretty much going to escalate into that. You know, and you see this what this individual is pretty much speaking about. You know, okay, and he's hitting a lot of good points. You see, okay, and then just by this, you know, this video actually was like maybe about almost about an hour long. You know, but you know, obviously I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I just wanted to get that main point of him saying that you know, hey, Babylon, the troops of Babylon, the people of Babylon are not ready, man. You see, all right, and then you have a lot of this you know, the powers that be is pretty much you know, working his hand in the earth, and it's gonna be all out battle royale, man, and it doesn't look good, man. It doesn't look good at all, you know. Edom's counsel, man, the pride has deceived him, man. You know, his counsel was pretty much going to lead to his own destruction at the end of the day. All right, so with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Shalom.